Double bag alert, double bag alert, double bag alert, double bag alert, folks. That's right. We got a loaded episode, okay? You guys are about to get 3 episodes. 3 episodes in a small amount of time, okay? You cannot tell me that your GM does not love you guys. Okay, we got a lot to talk about. Okay, Tyson Campbell and Christian Darrisaw gets paid. Haason Reddick is holding out. We have a double, no, not double. We have a triple rant alert. Okay, triple rant alert, folks. Why? Because the Bengals owner doesn't want to pay T. Higgins nor Jamar Chase. Saquon is telling his side of the story, what's going on with the Giants. Najee finally has spoken, and we finally know what's going on. And Matthew Stafford gets a restructure, and Amari Cooper as well. All of this and more on the 17th episode of the greatest Football Junkies podcast you will ever know to man. Okay, you're talking about a podcast who, one, teaches you new stats, two, breaks down money for you, and three, gives you insightful information every single time. I am your host, your GM, who still is not on the team, but who still is on the road, prospecting, scouting, looking to find my next all-pro, first ballot Hall of Fame player. Kale, let's get it. All right, folks. You know what? There's no point in us trying to diddly daddle, try to, walk our way into this thing. No, we already in the driver's seat. Seatbelt is locked in. Key ignition has already been turned. Buckle up. We're going in for it. All right. Now, if you guys do not know, cornerback for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Tyson Campbell, has inked a 4-year, $76.5 million extension to stay with him. He gets 53.4 million guaranteed, and he will be making 19.3 million a year, right? Okay, cool. Now, just a few things with Tyson Campbell, right? This past season, he had 42 solo tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 pick, 5 pass deflections. When you look at someone like a Tyson Campbell, right? You're looking at somebody who, one, is still fairly young. Two, it has definitely started to become a major piece within that secondary. And three, who at this point, it's better to lock him up now than to try to scramble and try to figure out what are you going to do once free agency hits next year, right? I mean, it's not really that big of a deal, honestly. I think it's a fairly pretty good deal. It doesn't crest, the top 10 highest paid cornerback list, but it's like right there. So it's like he's getting paid, but it's not to the point where it's like it's a situation where this contract may hurt them like 2 or 3 years down the road and whatnot. Okay. Even when you look at the highest paid corners by annual average salary, right? You have Jair Alexander at 21 million, Denzel Ward at 20.1 million, Jalen Ramsey 20 million, Marlon Humphrey 19.5, Marshawn Lattimore 19.4, Trevon Diggs 19.4. So literally, if we can be real here, those are just the top 6. Now, Tyson Campbell is probably there, but at the same time, this also sort of paints a picture for future corners that are going to be, free agents come next year, right? You have your AJ Terrells and whoever else that that may be available as well. Now, when you're going to look a little bit down the road into the future, when you have someone like a PS2 or a Sauce Gardner, this sort of, gives you an idea of like, okay, this is the low, this is the high, this is the medium, this is probably how much I'm probably going to be asking for, all those different type of things. So, congratulations to him. Now, to show the big boys the love, man, because we love our tackles, we love our offensive linemen here, right? Left tackle for the Vikings, Christian Darrisaw, right? Inked a 4-year, $113 million deal. $77 million of that is guaranteed. $43.7 million is guaranteed at signing. He'll be making $28.25 million a year. Now, when we break this down here, folks, Christian Darrisaw has been an anchor on that offensive line. Okay, he is in that group of young and up and coming tackles who, have been very productive since coming into the league. Right, he's in that group with Penei Sewell, and Tristan Wirfs and whatnot. He's in that group because he has consistently been one of the best young tackles in the league, right? You're talking about somebody who, is definitely a focal piece for that offense, and an offense where, it's still fairly young, right? You have a quarterback who's on a rookie deal. The biggest contract on the entire team's roster is only Justin Jefferson. It's the biggest deal. And then under that is probably now Christian Darrisaw. So I say all that to say this. The Vikings are following the recipe, which is you build around the quarterback, your rookie quarterback, within that period where you don't have to pay them, so that by the time it gets to to talk about contracts and whatnot, guess what? The offense is already established. It's already went through its highs and lows. It's already went through a draft player probably didn't do well, someone getting traded, someone getting moved, various different types of things, right? And then not to mention the Vikings, their top priorities aside from, getting their future quarterback was also making sure that they, paid their left tackle as well as their star receiver. Because both of them play a very pivotal role on that offense. And when they are not on the field, that offense is just it's not the best, right? And so, how does this affect future tackle, deals? I don't know. Especially for someone like Tristan Wirfs, who, he's still looking for money as well. So it's a matter of, okay, is he probably going to want more money than Christian Darrisaw? Is he going to want more money than, Penei Sewell? What exactly is Tristan Wirfs looking for? Okay, I think that's the $1 million question in all of this right now. Now, moving on to other things, because we have a lot to talk about, okay? But first, before we get to the rant alert, I think we do have to talk about Haason Reddick just a little bit. Now, when we look at the Haason Reddick situation, right? Haason Reddick, since being traded from the Eagles to the Jets, basically has been holding out because he wants a new deal, rightfully so, no problem with that. However, there really hasn't been a lot of communication as far as, what exactly is Haason Reddick's number? Why are the Jets not willing to pay him? Is there, what exactly is going on, right? And so, the Giants, not the Giants, excuse me, because I was watching Hard Knocks before I started recording. The Jets GM is in a situation where you have to figure out exactly what do you want to do with Haason Reddick at this point, because he's probably looking for top dollar money, and you realize that this not the roster, but the contracts are starting to pile up just a little bit, right? You have Aaron Rodgers' deal. You have Quentin Williams' deal. You still have C.J. Mosley's deals. You still have a lot of, moving pieces, but at the same time, you want to be able to have a little bit of cap flexibility just in case you want to try go after, some people, Devontae Adams or Brandon Ayuk. Who knows, right? So you want to be able to figure out what you want to do. Now, granted, if you would have told the Jets that Haason Reddick would have, be doing the things that he's doing right now, I think the Jets probably wouldn't have tried to trade for Haason Reddick. But clearly, that's not the case. And so now they're in a situation where they have to figure out exactly what are they going to do with him, because training camp has started, right? And you don't want something like this to continue to linger on as training camp continues to go by. You don't, especially if you have, with them having someone like a Haason Reddick on that defensive line, that definitely elevates things to another level. Okay, because you have Quinnen Williams in the middle. He's going to have to get double teamed. You have Haason Reddick who can play both the left and the right side. You have, you still have Jermaine Johnson, and you also have the other pass rusher that they drafted as well. So you have somewhat of a rotation on the defensive line. And that cannot be, done successfully if your supposed star pass rusher isn't even there practicing, right? Like there has been so much drama with the Jets lately that it's just like, do you even pay it any mind at this point? Like, granted, I'll always say that I'm pro player, always want, players getting paid and whatnot. But at this point, you are hurting yourself more and you are hurting the team by your negligence, instead of just trying to, come into the building, trying to figure out exactly, what mutual ground do you and the team has, what's a number that benefits everybody, is it too high, is it too low, is it just right, and just go from there. At that point, you would conquer more there if you was than just holding out or whatever. It's different if he was holding in. If he was holding in, he's just doing his own personal workouts to the side and not with the team, then that's perfectly fine, because he's in the building, and that means that you can, have a physical conversation with him, compared to him not being involved with the team at all, not learning the defense, not understanding and building chemistry with other players on that team, especially on the defense. So I say all that to say this, and this is for any player that that may be trying to look for a deal. It would be better for you to do a hold in than a hold out, because at least with a hold in, you can still have that communication with the front office and with your agent to try to find and get a deal done as quickly as possible. Because the longer this thing holds out, the more attention it's going to be brought, and it's sort of like a fire. The more oxygen it gets, and I could be wrong, the more oxygen it gets, the stronger the fire gets. And you don't want that, because you already have drama already with Aaron Rodgers. So now you're going to have this. Like, it's just a big ball of just bull crap. That's really what it is. And kudos to all the Jets fans that endure all this. I don't know how in the world you guys do it, but if it was me, I would not be doing it at all. Now, it's time to go into these rant alerts, okay? We got a lot of rant alerts, okay? So I'm going to let you know right now, you probably don't want to listen to this out in public, okay? You probably want to have headphones on, or, whatever else, however it is, okay? So let's get into these rant alerts, okay? So the Bengals owner, I think his name is Mike Brown, if I'm not mistaken. So he put out two quotes lately about both T. Higgins and the Jamar Chase contract situation. So let's go over the quote that he put out on why he's not paying T. Higgins. So he said, and I quote, according to Miles Simmons from NBC Sports Pro Football Network, shout out to you for the reporting. He said, quote unquote, the pie is not going to grow. It's only going to be a certain size, but when you reach a point where with your quarterback that you have to pay him a big contract, that takes a disproportionate price out of the pie, which means you have less to pay the others. Sometimes the impacts whether you can get the other sign. You can't just pay the people willy-nilly. You're restricted on how much you can pay. And we really like T. Higgins. We would wish to sign him, but it has to be a certain level to fit within the cap, or it can't be done. Right? Now, when you look at all of that, and in some ways, he does make sense. Once you do pay the quarterback, it does limit the ability to pay other players. However, you didn't know that this was coming up soon, right? You knew it. You knew that pretty soon you were going to have to pay T. Higgins, you were going to have to pay Jamar Chase, and you were going to have to pay Joe Burrow, right? You already knew that. So for you to say something like you can't just pay the people willy nilly, yes, you can, technically speaking, because you could have paid T. Higgins last year. Had you paid T. Higgins last year, you wouldn't be in the situation where you are right now. Because now the wide receiver market is so crazy right now, and you still have two more players that are going to get big contracts in both. His name just slipped my mind. Oh, Brandon Ayuk and CeeDee Lamb. It's going to mess you up more. It is, whether you realize it or not. The longer that you wait out, the worse it's going to be for you. Because guess what? The minute somebody else gets as close as they can to Justin Jefferson's deal or even surpasses it, it messes up the entire negotiation. It does. And you literally have two receivers right now who are ones on any other team, right? And you know that if you let one of those two walk or the both of them walk, that's it. It is finito. It is done, right? When you look at T. Higgins' market value, it's still 5 years, $98.5 million, which would equate to $19.7 million on average, according to SpotRack. Now, when you look at Jamar Chase's market value, it's a 3-year, $91.5 million deal. He'll be making $30.5 million a year. When we look at these deals, those deals aren't really that bad, right? Because, okay, yes, Joe Burrow is his deal is sort of like ironclad because he's the quarterback. Okay, perfectly fine. But you have to be able to find a way to make sure that you take care of both T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. But even then, with the recent reports coming out that they haven't even had a discussion about contract talks since last March for T. Higgins, that says a lot. That says a whole lot, folks. That is something that you, in some ways, you have to be concerned about. Because why in the world didn't you not have these discussions, since last March? And T. Higgins has basically let it be known, like, listen, once this season is over with, I'm gone. I'm gone. And so, that bridge is basically burnt, and I don't think it'll probably be rebuilt. Who knows? But when you look at, when you go back to the Bengals owner, when you look at his quotes about Jamar Chase, it's somewhat of a similar thing as well. He said, according to Adam Schefter, he said, and I quote, "It's not so likely that this is the good time to negotiate. The offseason is a better time for that, and we're going to try to keep focus on the football part. I'm not going to rule anything out, but I will tell you that the die has already been cast." Right? This is the off season, Mr. Brown. This is the off season, right? This right here, this area, this time, it's the off season. So why on God's green earth would you say something like this when you know daggone well that CeeDee Lamb is still looking for a deal and Brandon Ayuk is still looking for a deal? You know damn well that you are not going to pay neither one of these receivers. And you know damn well when you don't pay neither one of these receivers, you guys are going to go back to being the fourth best team in this division. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. That's ridiculous. That's honestly ridiculous. You should have prioritized making sure that you take care of your offense, because guess what? Your offense is the reason why you guys win so many games. Your offense is the reason why you guys made it to the Super Bowl. Your offense is the reason why you guys continue to go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes. Without that offense, you guys are nothing. And I don't care what any Bengals fan may say. It's literally your offense. That's the best part of your team. You take away that offense, you have nothing. That defense is deplorable. You have Trey Hendrickson, who is on the edge right now, who is basically saying, I am willing to retire unless you guys give me more money. You've lost DJ Reader. You've lost Larry Ogunjobi. You've lost a lot of the people in that secondary. And you think just, oh, it's just not the time to do it. Well, when is the good time to do it? When? When is the time for you to finally decide, oh, okay, it's time to pay the receivers now? No, you should have taken care of this now, because now the receiver market is so jacked up and it's not going to be able to somewhat fix itself, that guess what? Now you're going to have to pay more money. And let's not hope and pray that CeeDee Lamb gets a deal done soon, or Brandon Ayuk. Because if one of those two get a deal done soon, the whole playing field is destroyed. You know it, I know it. But hey, guess what? I'm a Bengals fan. So guess what? I don't have to deal with this shit. I don't. Who cares, right? Nobody cares. But this is the type of stuff here, folks, that at times can make you a little bit frustrated with a team, because it's like, okay, why are you so unwilling to not pay, your players, take care of your players? Now, granted, I understand that, not everybody can get paid. I understand that. I respect that. All of those different type of things. But you have to know, but you have to have active negotiations with the team in order to understand and probably come to a conclusion on, hey, maybe it's just best that we just part our separate ways. We play the season out. Maybe we'll come, maybe we'll come back and, figure something out after, post the season. Maybe we can, rekindle something and try to get a deal done, or we'll just let you just walk in free agency. How easy is that? I literally just solved the problem, and I've only been a GM for only 6 years, but I'm still not on the team right now. But that's another story for another day. That's all I'm saying, right? And, if you're a Bengals fan, you should be concerned about this, because guess what? If the Bengals don't pay neither T. Higgins or Jamar Chase, it's going to look bad. This is about to be a load of barnacles. But, again, I am not a Bengals fan. Now, moving on to this whole Giants and Saquon situation, because now we finally are able to see Saquon tell his side of the story and sort of break things down on what exactly happened between those contract negotiations between him and the Giants. Because Hard Knocks did show, the phone conversation and whatnot, but they didn't really go in depth with everything. But with Saquon doing an interview with Diana Rossini in her podcast, shout out to Scoop City, now we are finally able to sort of pick apart and sort of understand exactly what happened, right? So, these are just sort of like a few notes that sort of, jotted down when I was listening and looking at the interview. So basically he said, and I quote, "It was over after the phone call, in my opinion. It was over after that, because I never in my heart truly believed they were going to match it, or they only wanted me for a lower price. Joe made a comment that it took 10 years off his life. Like, if it took 10 years off your life, what do you think it did for me?" Right? Now, from that alone, you can definitely tell that this situation, especially that phone call, probably, bothered Saquon a little bit, because when you look at it, he's definitely been a very focal piece for that, for that offense. So for the GM to basically go out and say, okay, yeah, we're just going to let you hit free agency and let you test the market, and hopefully, you come back, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 all the same rhetoric that every GM says. But in Saquon's situation, it's a little bit unique, because he's a focal point. He's the focal point of the offense. That's what he is, right? And, as a GM, there are certain players on your team that you have to prioritize. And if you don't prioritize them, guess what's going to happen? They're going to go to a division rival, and then they're going to run your ass over every single time that you guys face one another. And that's exactly what Saquon is going to do when he goes up when he goes up against the Giants. He went to the Eagles. The owner literally said, I don't want to lose sleep off of this Saquon situation. In translation, do you know what that means? We need to sign Saquon. You need to find a way to get Saquon. I don't care what the general norm is about running backs and paying them a whole lot of money. None of those things. You need to find a way to get him because he realizes that Saquon alone does so much for that offense. And when Saquon is not on that field, when he is not making plays and whatnot, that offense becomes stagnant and he cannot do anything with it. That's what it is, right? Even when you look at some of the things that Saquon said, he said, he felt frustrated that the Giants didn't prioritize him and sort of give him a fair negotiation compared to what they did for Dexter Lawrence and Daniel Jones and Anthony Thomas, right? Which is rightfully so. You didn't try your hardest to try to find a way to keep Saquon. Saquon already told you where he wanted to be. So if he told you where he wanted to be, you should have worked something out to get it done. That's what you should have done. Instead of you trying to talk yourself into believing into Daniel Jones, you should have been trying to figure out a way to do something with Saquon. Because you know damn well, if you lose Saquon, that's it for the offense. Because no matter who else you bring, they will not be able to match the production that a Saquon Barkley brings. Granted, I understand that they felt comfortable in bringing someone like a Devin Singletary in, and that's perfectly fine. No disrespect to him at all. Great opportunity for him to get more money and whatnot. But at the same time, do you really think Devin Singletary can do the same things that a Saquon Barkley can do? No, not at all. Not even on the best day of the week could Devin Singletary do the things that Saquon Barkley do, and they know it. So if you think that's going to work, perfectly fine. But just know you messed up. But even when we go and we go a little bit deeper into this interview, Saquon wanted the first 2 years of the deal guaranteed, but when asked, Joe Shane basically said he was going to take it up with ownership, and there was never an answer given back to Saquon on if they can do that or not. Me personally, I feel like that was somewhat of a simple fix that you probably shouldn't have to go to management for because you're the GM and you should just basically say somewhat of a yes or a no answer. You should just run that, with the money people and then, just go from there, honestly, right? And, I would definitely say throughout this entire interview, he definitely emphasized a lot that he felt disrespected, throughout the entire process. And rightfully so because, when you look at it, Saquon really didn't have a chance to really negotiate. He did it. And so in his mind, he's like, to hell with y'all. If y'all don't value me as a player, if y'all don't value me, what I do on the field, off the field for this organization, then what is the point of me trying to give you guys a chance to, try to get a deal done or try to come back? There's no point. The bridge is already burned. You said what you said. When you said what you said, when Joe Shane basically said, we're going to let you hit the free agency market, that's it. That's the nail in the coffin. That's it. There's nothing you can do or say that's going to change that. It's not. And so now you're going to have to deal with the repercussions. You know what the repercussions are? Saquon steamrolling that defense 2 times a season. And guess what, Joe Shane? You got the best seat in the house. So you get to see it for 2 games a season. So guess what? So when it happens, when Saquon Barkley goes off and Saquon does Saquon things, just know we're all going to revisit that conversation that you had with him on Hard Knocks, where you basically said, oh yeah, we're just going to let you hit the free agency. We're just going to let you just test the market, see what happens. Okay. That's what happened. Now, moving on to, just some very small key points. Amari Cooper basically agreed to a restructure of his deal. Basically, the Browns are giving him $5 million, somewhat of a raise, if you would say, but it's mainly in incentives, while giving half of the $20 million that he was supposed to get and changing that into a signing bonus. Now, me personally, I think it's more of a somewhat of a cleanup type of deal. I think it's more of a way to create a little bit of cap space for them and give them a little bit of flexibility just in case if they do want to go after somebody and add to this team. But at the same time, try to take a little bit less off of his contract because they know that, maybe they want to get rid of him. Maybe they want to trade him. Maybe they want to try to add somebody else into the receiver room or to the offense or let alone the defense. Who knows, right? The Browns have been able to do very small little things when it comes to their contracts and their books, lately. And, to some people, it's like, it's nothing really, major. But to me, it's like, okay, they're trying to set themselves up to probably go after one more big time player, possibly. But who knows, right? Now, same thing with the Matthew Stafford situation. He agreed to a restructured deal as well. He only had $15 million guaranteed after the 2024 season, but unfortunately, there is no details about that restructure as well. But what it sounds like to me is he wanted more guaranteed money added after this season, after this upcoming season. And so basically the Rams probably gave him a number. They probably agreed to that number. And so they probably broke it down. And so, here's the situation that you have right here. Now, here is something that we have to talk about because this just came up, right? So Najee Harris finally has spoken, about, what has happened with the Steelers and, them not deciding to pick up his 5th-year option. Now, all my Steelers fans, don't get upset with me because I am a Steelers fan myself. It may not sound like it all the time, but yes, unfortunately, I am a Steelers fan. So according to Brooke Pryor, shout out to Brooke, by the way. This is basically the quote that Najee basically said at training camp, right? So basically, he said that the Steelers told him that they were declining because they didn't know which direction the offense is headed. I'm going to say that again. The Steelers told Najee Harris, the person who's had 1,000 rushing yards 3 seasons in a row, that they don't know which direction the offense is headed. Meanwhile, the Steelers hired Arthur Smith, who runs a run-heavy offense. Oh, by the way, the Steelers drafted 2 tackles in the first round with both Broderick Jones and Troy Fautanu. And you mean to tell me that the bullshit answer that you give Najee Harris is, oh, we don't know which direction the offense is headed? Bullshit. Straight up bullshit. You can't tell someone like that okay, yeah, we don't know which direction. Because you made the moves that dictated what direction the offense is going to go, which is what? We're going to run the ball and we're going to have a physical defense. That's the identity of the Pittsburgh Steelers going into the 2024 season. Everybody knows it. They've been rebuilding the offensive line. They've been prioritizing running the ball more. They got an offensive coordinator who ran the ball when he was the offensive coordinator at Tennessee. So why in the world would you tell me something like this? And let's not forget, folks, the 5th-year option for Najee Harris wasn't even that expensive. It was only $6 to $8 million, if I'm not mistaken. So what in the world are we doing? And that's probably going to be the name for this episode. Bam. GM does it every single time. But what are we doing here, folks? What are we doing? It's one thing if Najee Harris wasn't being productive. It's one thing if, you want to go in a different direction and whatnot. Okay, cool, perfectly fine. But to say something like this, you don't know which direction the offense is headed, I'm sorry, that is a lackluster answer. Because clearly your actions spoke louder than your words, especially, with previous interviews leading up to this point. Basically, both the GM and the head coach and the owner basically emphasizing that they wanted to run the ball more. That's what they emphasize. So if they emphasize that they wanted to run the ball more, then guess what? Guess what they did? They got an offensive coordinator who does what? Run the ball more. They got what? Offensive linemen. So they can do what? Run the ball more. Come on, guys. Come on. You know what? I'm I'm done. I'm just wow. You cannot make this stuff up, folks. I'm just going to end this right here. Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode. As always, if you guys like what you are listening, please like, share, subscribe on our YouTube page at football_junkies_pod. Like and leave a 5-star review on whatever streaming platform that you guys listen to, whether that be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, wherever the case may be, RSS feed as well. Shout out to all the streaming platforms as well for allowing us to give the fix to our fellow football junkies as well. As always, I hope I gave you guys the fix that you guys need. Stay tuned. There'll probably be more content coming out very soon as well, because I know training camp for everybody is, has either already started or is getting ready to start for others. So, stay tuned. There'll probably be more compact, content coming out as well. As always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys so much for supporting me. As always, I'll keep you posted on whatever I hear and whatnot. I'll keep you guys informed. Also, follow us on Instagram at football_junkiespod. Again, that's football_junkiespod. Also, follow us on TikTok, football_junkiespod. Again, that is football_junkiespod. Junkiespod is not spaced out. It is one word together. As always, I love you guys. Peace out.